If your trailer ABS or EBS valve was leaking, would you want to change that valve like most people do? Could be making a big mistake. Let's go and have a look. Good day, my name is Vic. I do the WABCO product training for Southern Africa, and this is the 5-minute reminder. Practical tips from training to hopefully keep your wheels rolling. The 5-minute reminder is brought to you by Commercial Vehicle Solutions, CVS, formerly known worldwide as WABCO. CVS is a proud division of ZF. Right, the customer phoned me and told me he had a big problem and sent me this video. Have a look. It's quite serious. Yep, looks like a leak, sounds like a leak. And I said to him, that could be a leak that's not a leak. He thought I'd lost my mind. Let's go and have a look and I'll show you why. I'm going to use a trailer ABS layout system because it's simpler and easier to explain, but the concept is exactly the same and the process is exactly the same. From our graphics, I'm showing that our ABS valve is leaking. And for all intensive purposes, when you climbed underneath the trailer, it would be, well, pretty much a done deal that that ABS valve is leaking. But I'm saying, hold on a second. There are several reasons, yes, more than one, reasons why that ABS would appear to be leaking, but actually not be faulty at all. Today, we'll cover just one. Is it a leak or is it a feedback? This is a very common fault. What is a feedback? Well, our ABS has port 2s on it. Port 2s are delivery ports. In other words, air comes out of those ports. But at this stage of the game, there's no air coming out of it. In fact, air is now flowing back into port 2. And on an air brake valve, when you put air into port 2, it automatically comes out the exhaust. So now I'm showing it coming from a spring brake, air going into the ABS, comes straight out of the exhaust and looks for all intensive purposes that that valve is leaking. There'll be no sound on our faulty spring brake. We'll not hear it. We'll only hear the leak on the ABS. So how do we prove it and what are we talking about? For this, we'll go and look a bit closer at our spring brake. The front section, as we all know, is the service brake. That's activated by the truck's foot brake valve or the truck's own handbrake. The rear section, though, is the trailer's own park brake. That's our focus for today. In the rear section of the spring brake is that hugely powerful park brake spring. In order to keep that spring retracted backwards when we are traveling, we drive with the trailer having air on the rear section. Should that pressure drop, then that spring obviously extends forward, pushing an internal push rod forward, which then pushes the external push rod, which turns the slack adjust, etc., etc. But in this case, that internal push rod works through a seal. And if that seal is worn or damaged, which happens more times than people realize, what happens to the pressure in the rear of the spring brake? Well, it escapes through that seal. It goes underneath the diaphragm and returns to the ABS via this service port here. So in terms of our drawing layout, we've got pressure from the rear of one or more spring brakes coming through the center seals, returning and coming into port 2 and making it look like the trailer ABS is leaking. But at this stage, we haven't proven anything. We need to prove it. How do we prove it? Well, logic states, if this only happens when there's air in the rear of the spring brake, if we remove that air, then logically the ABS should stop leaking. So how will we do that? Well, quite simply, actually. We're going to go and close our park brake valve. It's the simplest method, no special tools required. So we close our park brake valve, and absolutely true to form, it stops leaking. So guys won't believe their eyes. They will then open the park brake valve again just to double check it. And yes, the leak is back. So when there's pressure on the rear of the spring brakes, which allows for a feedback, then we see the ABS leaking. But when we park it, in other words, remove the air from the rear of the spring brakes, remove the opportunity for a feedback, the ABS is still. So there's nothing wrong with the ABS whatsoever. We have a faulty spring brake or spring brakes that do need to have some attention done on it. So it's not a leak. It's not a leak when it's a feedback. Worth checking. Takes 5 seconds to close a park brake valve and could save you thousands. Did you learn something? Imagine how much more you or your team would learn by coming on one of our structured training courses. We start right at the very, very basics, right at the beginnings. And yes, we go fairly far advanced on different courses. We cover trucks, we cover trailers, and for the guys who've done our basic courses, we also offer the logical fault finding. Our training is available both online, which is great for the out-of-town guys. It's also very cost-effective and available on certain Saturdays. But of course, it doesn't quite replace the in-person contact of in-house training that also includes practical training. Our training is part of our extensive fleet support program. So if we can help you with training or fleet support, in fact, if you're just looking to sign up to receive all the editions of the 5-minute reminders, why not get hold of me? Here are my contact details. My colleagues and I look forward to being of assistance to you into the future. Thanks, and well, have a great day. Cheers now.